All right, let's talk about the IELTS Writing Task 2. For so many of us, it feels like the final boss battle of the whole exam, right? The pressure's on, that clock is just ticking away, and your entire score kind of hangs in the balance. But what if I told you there's a code? A simple, repeatable system you can use to turn all that stress into a really high score. Well, there is, and you and we're going to crack it together right now.
So, here's our game plan. First, we're going to size up the challenge. Then, we'll talk about your secret weapon, planning. After that, we'll cover the 5 types of essays you might face. I'll show you the exact blueprints for a high score, and we'll wrap it all up with some final checks to help you avoid the most common traps. Let's get right into it.
Okay, so first things first. Why does this one task cause so much stress? I mean, really? Well, experts from places like Cambridge IELTS consultants all say the same thing. For a ton of people, this essay is, without a doubt, the hardest part of the entire test. And it's not just a feeling. There are a couple of really solid reasons why. Just look at this number for a second. 66%. According to IELTS expert Liz, that's how much your Task 2 essay is worth. I mean, that's a massive 2/3 of your entire writing score. So yeah, Task 1 is important, sure, but let's be real. Task 2 is where the game is truly won or lost. You've just got to get this part right. And you know, it's not just about the points. It's also about when it happens in the test. Just think about it for a sec. By the time you even get to the Task 2 essay, you've already battled through the listening section, the reading section, and you've just finished writing Task 1. You're tired. Your brain is kind of fried. And that is the absolute worst time to try and write a brilliant, organized essay, right? It's so easy to make simple mistakes. So the big question is, how do you fight that? How do you deal with the pressure and the exhaustion and still write something that gets you a fantastic score? Well, the answer is actually really, really simple. But it's the one thing that most people skip. It is the secret weapon that makes all the difference. And this quote from Liz, the IELTS expert, just nails it. She says, lack of planning is the common downfall of most students. Think about that for a second. She has seen so many students, people with fantastic English, get a low score. Why? Not because of their vocabulary or grammar, but because they simply didn't have a plan. They just dive in, start writing, and hope for the best. And that, well, that's a recipe for disaster. Okay, so what does planning actually look like? It's not just jotting down a few random words. It's a real 5-step process. First, you really break down the question. Second, you brainstorm ideas. Just throw everything out there. But here's the crucial part. Step 3, you choose only your best ideas. Then, for step 4, you think of some supporting points for them. And finally, you organize it all into paragraphs. Seriously, spending 5 minutes on this will save you from writing a confusing, jumbled, low-scoring essay. All right, but here's the thing. A plan is great, but you need the right plan for the right job. You wouldn't use a hammer to unscrew a light bulb, right? It's the same thing here. You can't use one single strategy for every essay. So to really nail this, you've got to know your enemy. You've got to identify what kind of essay you're up against. And really, when you boil it all down, you're only going to face one of these 5 main types: an agree or disagree essay, a discuss both views essay, advantages and disadvantages, problems and solutions, or a 2-part question. The very first thing you have to ask yourself is, what is this question actually asking me to do? Once you know that, you can pick the right blueprint. Okay, here we go. This is where it all clicks into place. We've talked about why it's tough, why planning is key, and the different types of essays you might see. Now, let's get to the good stuff, the actual blueprints, the structures that are going to guide your writing and give you that real aha moment. Let's kick things off with a classic, the agree or disagree essay. The structure for this is beautifully simple. So, your introduction, you just paraphrase the question and state your opinion, nice and clear. Then, body paragraph 1 gives one solid reason why you think that. Body paragraph 2, it gives a second, different reason supporting your view. The key thing here is that both paragraphs are arguing for your side. It's so direct, the examiner can't possibly get lost. Then you just wrap it up with a conclusion that summarizes everything. Boom, done. Simple, logical, effective. Okay, now let's switch gears to the discuss both views essay. Now this one looks pretty similar on the surface, but there is a critical difference, so listen up. Your intro still sets everything up, but your body paragraphs have totally different jobs. Paragraph 1 is all about discussing the first viewpoint, and paragraph 2, that's all about discussing the second viewpoint. Let's just put these two side by side for a second, because this is the #1 mistake people make. For an opinion essay, agree or disagree, remember, both body paragraphs support your view. But for a discussion essay, discuss both views. Paragraph 1 is for the first view, and paragraph 2 is for the second view. Getting this right is, and I'm not exaggerating, absolutely crucial for your score.
And this logical approach just keeps going with the advantages and disadvantages essay. The structure here is, well, it's exactly what it sounds like. After your introduction, you have one whole paragraph just for the advantages, then you have another whole paragraph just for the disadvantages. It's super clean, it's balanced, and it instantly shows the examiner that you've thought about both sides of the coin before you made up your mind.
So, what's the big takeaway from all this? It's that no matter what kind of question they throw at you, there is a clear, predictable structure you can follow. It doesn't matter if it's problem and solution or a two-part question, there's a blueprint for it. Your job isn't to be a creative genius under pressure, it's just to identify the question type and then use the right blueprint that you've already learned. Okay, we've got the blueprints for success. Now for our last section, let's talk about the common traps. The little things that can absolutely sink your score, even if you have a great plan. Think of this as damage control, just making sure all your hard work actually pays off on the big day.
Do any of these look familiar? The biggest mistakes are basically the exact opposite of everything we just talked about. Bad planning or no planning at all, not actually answering the specific question they asked you, having your ideas all over the place, not hitting that 250-word count, and the classic, running out of time and not even writing a conclusion. If you can just avoid these traps, you are way ahead of most people.
And that's it. That's the code. It's really not about having some kind of perfect, flawless English. It's about understanding the system, knowing the weight of the task, using the power of a good plan, spotting the question type, and using the right blueprint for the job. The path to a high score isn't some big secret. You have the blueprint. So the only question left is, are you ready to build?